Ulta today because this weekend they launched a bunch of new stuff and I just wanted to take a look-see. And I don't go to Ulta very often, but I went and there was a lot of stuff, a lot of good stuff. It's only the beginning of the holiday season because guess what? Come September, October, that is going to be when the holiday stuff launches, and then November, December is like when they push the sale and stuff on those. So get ready because it is just the beginning. But I went in because I decided that I wanted to purchase the Tarte Maneater palette. You guys showed interest in this in my community tab, and quite frankly, I really loved last year's Maneater palette. I actually deem this as the palette of fall / the holidays. So we're gonna see what we think of this one. So last year's made me come crawling back to pick up this year's. I mean, some other things that I saw the new Urban Decay palette, kind of ugly. I definitely did not want to pick that up. The color story wasn't for me. And then I also wasn't going to pick this up. I got duped. They always get me. This is the Too Faced Maple Syrup Pancakes, and actually, like, it's really, really pretty. Now, I'm not reviewing it today. I think I'm going to either review this tomorrow or do a get ready with me featuring it, but like, this is really, really pretty. I ain't gonna lie. So I do have this one as well. But today we're gonna focus on the Maneater palette. It's because there's so many shades and I only have 2 eyeballs, as you guys know. So let's go ahead and get into it. You can purchase it in store at Ulta, online at Ulta. You can purchase it on the Tarte website as well. I will have my links down below to shop it. They call it the 2002 It Palette's Fierce Sister, which is this one right here. So it's the sister to last year's It palette. It sold very well. It's $52, which is a lot for a palette, but you do get a lot of shades in here. There are 24 shades, so I think that's a pretty good deal for Tarte. So this is introducing the hottest, fiercest Maneater palette of this season. So this is their fall / holiday palette, I believe, because it says 24 everyday shades with a holiday flair. So it's meant for the holidays. And they say it was a highly requested palette because last year's sold so good with unexpected pops and everyday warm and cool tones. So it definitely does have warm and cool tones. We have some blues and purples, and then we have some warm tones. I actually really like how they laid it out because you have warm tones, neutral-ish tones, still leaning warm, blue tones, and then more purpley tones at the bottom. I think it makes a lot of sense the way that they laid it out. And then the details of this palette, what you guys care about. So if you do purchase this, this is what it's going to come in the box. It has a 12-month shelf life and is made in Taiwan. Last year's was also made in Taiwan, and it's also vegan. And it is their Amazonian clay formula, which is supposed to help with long wear. Now the packaging is the same as last year's, except it has a purple cover. It is plastic with a magnetic opening. You do have a nice big mirror. I love this mirror. And then you have the 24 shades, which there are 11 mattes, 9 shimmers, and 4 sheens, and 8 of them, as you can see, have this Maneater press. Okay, and then just so you can see last year's, I did a whole review of this if you want to see it, but last year's was definitely more traditionally holiday-y, lots and lots of warm tones. So this year's palette is a lot more fun, if you ask me. By the way, if you do order this from the Tarte website, you can use Afterpay for this, so then it would only be $13 a month to pick it up. But so you can see, this one is a lot more fun. I mean, it's not as nighttime as the name says because it is called Nightfall. But what I do appreciate, I feel like the really deep tones in here are very fun, and it's going to allow for a lot more versatility in the palette. So let's go ahead and get into the swatches. I know I have heard you. Swatching is not my strength. I'm gonna try it horizontally this time. There's something about, like, I don't want to press too hard, and I have very small arm space and very small finger pads. I don't know, but let's swatch these. So we're gonna start off with these first 4 shades, which are pretty nude. You saw we got some fallout from that Mischief shade. So we have Fascinate, Sly, Catnap, and then Mischief, which Swatched a little flaky here, but it still looks really pretty, but it looks like you might get a lot of fallout from this. Then we have these four next. The shade Desirable also seems a little messy. Smolder, Alpha, Desirable, a little messy, not much of a pigmented base. And then we have Pamper. That is so pretty. I like that shade. Okay, we're finishing up the first half here. This is my kind of quad right here. Frisky, Ferocious, Minx, and then Tease is the last one. Some of these need a little extra pressure to push them in. Now keep in mind, I don't go for full thick swatches. I really try to go a little bit lighter to see their behavior. Okay, so now we are getting into the cool tones here, which is not something that Tarte does a lot, so this is a big deal. Pounce 9 Lives. Do you see that? Oh, that is pretty. Nightfall, what the palette is named after, very 90. And then Intrigue. Ooh, that one is also pretty, but a little sheer. Okay, ooh, these colors are pretty nudes down here. Wild, Captivate, Pause Off, and then Sizzle. And then we're gonna finish off with these final four. These mattes feel a little dry, but that doesn't mean anything. Just saying, they feel like a drier consistency. Okay, this is it. Vixen, Passionate. I have a tiny, small, short, little arm. This palette's taking up my whole arm. Mysterious. You can see a little bit too much of my arm fat for comfort, I'm not gonna lie. And then After Dark. And here is the whole palette. It looks very everyday friendly, but also you can definitely get some smoky looks. I like this collection of colors. If you have a large eyeshadow collection, is this going to be anything different? No, but I don't expect most people to have a super large eyeshadow collection. Except if you know who you are if you do. I definitely have some of those viewers too. But it looks pretty and I liked how everything's swatched for the most part. The shimmers felt a little bit flaky, but we'll see on application how that goes. Okay, let's get into the tutorials. I've already primed my eye with my Kaleidos Tone Activator, and there are 24 shades and only one of me, so I won't be able to test all of the eyeshadow colors, but feel free to subscribe to my channel because I will be featuring this in a, monthly palette rankings eventually as I use this more. But let's just see what we can do. I'm going to do some random things. I'm going to start off with Pounce right here. I'm going to use this to set my underbrow. The shade has a cooler undertone to it, so it looks a little less natural on me, but it does just enough brightening right underneath the brow bone here that I like. I'm just going for the gusto and going into this shade because I really want to know more about this 9 Lives shade. So I'm using a What's Up Beauty R105. I'm just going to pick this up on the side of the brush. I'm going to start off by laying it on the outer half of my eyelid here, just to check it out. It looks like it has a satin finish. There's definitely some shimmers there. Very pretty. I'm going to actually apply some more on the tip of my brush, and I'm going to blend this into the crease. And so do keep in mind it is a satin shade. So it's not the most flattering finish alone right now, but if you just add a little bit of a matte shade, you'll be good. So with this Sigma Dream Detailed Blending, we're going into Passionate, which is a matte shade, and like I said, it's that Amazonian formula, which has a drier feel to it, but at least in the blush form, does last a long time. And I'm just focusing on circling this in the outer corner. I am having to build the pigment a little bit. It's not like a luxury shadow, which can be built up really, really deep, but it is going to make it a little bit easier to use if you're a beginner to blending shadow, since dark shades can be a little bit more difficult to use. And then I've actually decided I'm going to carry this shade a little bit further in. Normally I like to do one look first on one eye, so I know exactly what to do, but we're winging it here since I'm doing 2 looks today. Then with a Rephr 13, we're going into After Dark, which is this matte shade. And this one, I want to focus in the outer corner. Ooh, I like this shade, and this one could be cool for eyeliner as well. I'm definitely going to have to go back into that purple to bring the color back out because it is getting lost in this navy shade, which is spectacular quality. Next up, I'm going into Mysterious. I want to see what this dark shimmer is going to look like. What's Up Beauty R110. Just as I suspected, already seeing lots of fallout and not really a pigmented base, which is not great. So I'm going to use a finger pad. And this is going to completely solve my concerns, but it's not something I prefer in my shadows. I prefer the versatility of being able to apply them however I want, and it is quite messy. Wiping off my brush, I'm going into 9 Lives again, and I want to see how this applies. I'm going to layer a different shadow over top. That looks pretty nice and smooth all over the eyelid. And then I also want to check out Wild right here, which is also like a shimmery satin shade. It's a little bit darker. I'm going to put this in between Mysterious and 9 Lives because this to me looks a lot smoother and cleaner on the eyelid. This shade I feel like just made the look a little bit messy, which I'm not the biggest fan of. Okay, let me clean up under here with a wipe and then we'll do the lower lash line. And then lower lash line, I'm going to use 9 Lives again. This one's kind of the hero of this look. It's really carrying. It's very pretty. I hope it doesn't fade with wear. And then I'm going to go into Passionate. Just a hint of purple to show through. But I really love what the navy is doing in this look. I'm going to focus this mostly on the outer corner of the eye. I'm skipping out on Mysterious because unfortunately this is the bad shade of the look. I don't really like it. So I'm going into Wild. It has a much smoother application. Popping that on the center of the lower lash line just to pull everything together. And then we're going to finish with some of Intrigue right here, which is kind of a taupey color. Just a little bit of gray in there. Probably a little bit darker for the inner corner than I wanted. I wanted to try it, but it's not a good highlight shade, so we're going into Fascinate. There we go. That one brightens a little bit more. Okay, and then once we get lashes on, it's going to look really neat, almost like tie-dye-y. I played with the cool tones, a lot of the shades that are a little risky for the brand, and quality, decent. Not amazing, but decent. So let's play a little bit more on the upper half here. So I'm starting off with the shade Sky, which has a little bit of a peachy tone to it. And we're going to use this as our crease color. Now I find with Tarte, their formulas are meant for the average everyday makeup wearer. So they don't layer as well, you know, it takes a little bit of extra care and practice, but what they're good at is good simple applications. So I'm gonna try some of Catnip, which has some pink. Just want to see if they look different. They do. Okay, good. I was hoping they wouldn't be too close to one another. A good way to test a brand is by their browns. So I'm starting off with Ferocious matte browns, by the way, not shimmery browns. And this one's nice. It also has kind of a warm hint to it since this is a warmer row. Going to carry that on the crease here. Blend it out just a little bit more. Okay, moment of truth. Let's test Tease. This Mysterious shade somehow ended up in Tease. Hate that shade. Okay, circling this out here. Ooh, it has a good amount of pigment. Okay, I like this shade and it's working out really easily. Hence why Tarte is just a great eyeshadow brand for beginners when they come with a good formula, because they have some formulas that I think can be a little bit difficult to work with. This one pretty much blended itself. Going to use the first brush that I used to help blend this out a little bit. But do you see, when you don't over blend it, it really does create that creased look. Not creased look. What am I trying to say? That depth. Shadow. Okay. That looks great. Okay, since I had such a bad time with this, I do want to test some of these shades to see if they're as flaky. So let's use Pamper. Much better. That dark shade just wasn't working. It still is giving me a decent amount of fallout. And I do recommend a finger. It's cleaner. You get more pigment. If you have the ability, that's how I would recommend to apply it. But it doesn't look super smooth on the eyelid, which could be not great on mature eyelids, so just keep that in mind. If you have mature eyelids, the ones with the smooth finish are going to apply much more seamless looking and emphasize fine lines a lot less. I just added a little bit of that dark brown to redefine. And then this shade I also noticed was really flaky, so I want to see how it applies. Now you could use a glitter glue and this would solve a lot of your issues, but I'm on the philosophy that I don't want to have to. A good formula, you shouldn't have to, but this is getting all over my face. But it's very pretty. It adds like a sparkle, but you definitely need a wet brush with this because it's getting everywhere in a very pretty way, but it's getting everywhere. Okay, this is a pretty fall look though. I'm gonna pop on some concealer. I just want to share that I think these more neutral tones, they're just a lot easier to use than the brighter colors. So I'm going to use some of Catnip to start. Kind of apply that pretty much along the lower lash line the whole way. And then I'm going into Ferocious. Tap off the excess, though they are a softer formula in pigment, but still a little buildable. And then Tease, which I'm loving. This brown shade right here, so good. You know what? I'm just gonna go balls to the walls here. I'm gonna apply Ferocious everywhere. Kind of get that smoky look. And then I'm going into Desirable. Be very careful, tap that brush off. I'm gonna lightly pop this just under the tear duct area. I don't want it to be too messy. And I think that's all I'm going to do for this eye. I think this look turned out so stunning. So let me finish off the rest of my face. Okay, so everything really came together with the lashes. I'm really feeling the more nude colors in this palette. This shade, the sparkles ended up everywhere. They're like on my nose, on this eyeshadow, on the ground, on my table. I do not like this shade. And these shades, as pretty as they are, they're quite messy. So use a glitter glue, use a finger. Not super excited to announce that, but I did know that from the previous palette, and I did love the previous palette, so I can definitely see myself reaching for this more. I enjoy the looks that I did, particularly this one right here. Even though I said that this shade was too messy, I mean, it really has a very pretty impact on the look. I think a lot of people are going to like this. If you're on the fence about it, I'd say go for it. If you want to be patient, it's probably going to go on sale later on in the year, so that might be the route that you want to go. Overall, is it the best quality I've ever used? No. You guys know I use a lot of super high quality top of the line eyeshadows. This one is, I really, really like it for the everyday consumer. But if you are a quality snob like me and you've tried everything under the sun, you probably won't be impressed. But if you have a more minimal collection, I do think that you'll enjoy this. If you like simple looks, I think that you'll enjoy this. I do enjoy the colors that they had. I'm probably not as enthusiastic about this one this year as I was last year's. I can't say why, because the formulas are pretty much the same from what I'm able to tell, just maybe a little bit flakier, if anything, but I don't know. This year is just not as exciting to me, but I still do think it's nice. Comparing this year's to last year's, there certainly are some repetitive shades, but overall the color stories are quite different. But, you know, there's a lot of transition colors that are similar, a few mattes. For the most part, a couple shimmers that are also similar, those embossed shades. So they're going to stand pretty close, probably about 25% of the shades, but I do think you do have more versatility in this new Nightfall palette. So I'm very happy with it. I enjoy it. My opinions might change as I continue to use this palette more, so make sure you stay subscribed to my channel. But for first impressions for Tarte, I'm certainly not mad at it. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video and found it helpful. If you've tried this palette, let me know your thoughts down below. And if you haven't, what are you thinking? I'd love to hear it. Let's get a discussion going on in the comments, and I will catch you guys in the next one. Bye guys, have a good one.